I want to talk a little bit about, so you mentioned that like where your product is on shelf is part of the marketing, right? Part of the PR. And I think too, so is your price point, right? It's like it sends a message in many cases of like what kind of product is this, a premium product or not. And you mentioned earlier there's like the Pregos and the Ragus, and then the what were the two brands? I always call it Rayo's. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong.
Rails. Yeah,
And then
Rails, Carbone. Yep.
yeah. So where does your brand fit in on the shelf, and kind of what in terms of price point, and then how much thought went into that? I'm sure a lot, but what I mean by that question is like, did you consider, its position, and then did you also consider margin, and can you kind of talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Our average price point's about $14. I think the lowest price we have on the shelf is 12.99,
Okay.
and then we go up to like 17 or 18. So there is a little bit of a range. We are small batch, so because we don't have large scale, our margins are much tighter. Over time, they will get bigger, but we really wanted to make sure we use 100% tomato, no blends, no concentrates, no paste,
Mhm.
because that is sort of a way to cut corners in a lot of what's out there. It's truly meant to be kind of all whole ingredients,
Yeah.
and that does get costly. Those ingredients are expensive when they're sourced in that way. And we use fresh basil, we use dehydrated or dried basil, we use whole garlic. Like, there's a lot of things that we make sure are great. And even with our new flavor, the creamy Calabrian, we have Calabrian chilies, which are very
Mm.
expensive ingredients. So we're there's a lot of things we're trying to work through. But I think first and foremost, if we want to make an amazing product, and I guess we kind of will figure out the rest later.
Mhm.
But the most important thing is that we have something that's really superior out there, and we don't add any sugar. We don't have a lot of the things that are out there that cut corners. And so it sort of, by way of the quality that we chose to make the product, it sort of had automatically sits at a much higher price point just
Yeah.
because of what you are getting out of it. We know over time, to be competitive, it probably will need to sit a little bit lower price point wise. We just want to make sure as we do grow that the quality is never compromised. So
Yeah.
we're in that process now.
Yeah. We talk with a lot of brands and founders who, for the same reasons, have a premium priced product just by the nature of the quality of the ingredients, and sometimes even the packaging, right?
Yeah.
Sustainability and different things that come with the packaging make that product, higher priced or among the highest priced on the shelf. And it's so important to know what your position is there, and then I think to market and communicate to support that. And it seems like with your growth and the, rate at which you're moving off shelf, you guys are doing a really great job of doing that communication, and making it all work together, because you can't just be one thing, right?
Yeah.
Like it's all the things together, I think, that make a brand successful.
Well, and at one point, Rouse and Carbone were also our price point.
Right.
They were, far more expensive when they first launched. And Rouse has been around like 20 years now, but they were the most premium out there. And same with Carbone when they came out, and just are speaking to a very different consumer now.
Hmm.
We share the shelf with them in many places, and they're a great sauce, and they can claim a lot of the same things that we claim, as far as not using, paste and concentrates or added sugar. So I think that's great. Rouse is a 25-year-old company, and
That
um,
I think was
and
just purchased by like Campbell's or something like that.
Campbell's for 2.7 billion. That's the
Yeah.
second or third time they've been acquired. And Carbone has a ton of capital behind them through the major food groups. So they've really been able to put a pretty big mark in the category for sure. So I think it's nice. There's room for everybody for
Hmm.
sure. And we certainly have a very different story, background, and mission and flavor,
Yeah.
than what's out there too. So I think it's just important to know that for us, from a perspective point of view, we say, okay, well, those guys were kind of where we're at, 10 years ago or 15 years ago. So this is kind of where we're headed.
Yeah.
And they have been able to maintain their quality and just continue to grow their customer base. And, we plan to do the same.
Yeah. Yeah. It's awesome.